Good evening. We'll call to order the council meeting for Monday, March 5th. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll move on to public comments. This portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comments remotely should email publiccomments@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, at which time a link will be provided to attend the meeting, as well as instructions on how to participate. Anybody from the public?
Hi, my name is Tom Puglisi. I live at 135 Parsonage Street, and I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to speak to you all. I'm also one of your registrar of voters, and the reason I'm up here is because from the last election until now, we've had quite a few comments from people about how the last election went and how we can improve it. To that end, we've been working very closely with the Board of Education, Dr. Zito, the school facilities manager, and of course the facilities manager in the town hall, and IT department, and on and on and on. We're trying to make this as smooth and clean as possible, because this will be the first early voting that we've ever had. Early voting will start on the 26th of this month. It'll run the 27th and 28th. And then it'll be on Saturday the 30th. The actual presidential primary will be April 2nd, and that's where we're making most of the changes and improvements. We talked specifically with Dr. Zito, and he recommended that we add additional staff in order to help monitor the flow of voters through the hallways, and we're doing that. We're adding much more signage outside to help people find areas where they're supposed to be parking their car, and handicap parking where the cuts in the curb are so that the wheelchairs can get in and out. And we're adding individual signs with arrows pointing over to the doors that they're supposed to be using. That should help a lot. On top of that, we've communicated with the Rocky Hill Police Department, and they're very aware of when school is and isn't. We have the SRO officers, and they're coordinating with them to add additional police presence at that time. So hopefully we have a very enjoyable, a smooth running election this time. I thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments and resignations. Councilor O'Sullivan.
None on this side, except for what Councilor Prakash is going to put on the record.
Yes, I do have the nominations, the appointments to Affordable Housing Committee. Last week, Councilor Thoreau and I worked very closely on the applications provided by Kim Ritchie and the town manager, and we had a lot of overlap, and we had a really good process set up to go through the names, and jointly we came up with these names. So I would like to nominate or appoint these members to the Affordable Housing Committee: Alan Smith, Rebecca Hoyt, Tom Puglisi, Vinay Gala, Charles Wisniewski, Genevieve Orieli, who is an alternate, and Tanvi Pawar, who is also an alternate. So the first 5 are regular members, and the last 2, Genevieve Orieli and Tanvi Pawar, are going to be the alternates. So that's the list, and the town manager and the mayor also has the same list, so they can go off that for proper, names, spellings, things like that, and it has their addresses as well. Anything else maybe you would like to add?
I believe Kim Ritchie also has the names now, too.
Yes, she does. Yeah.
Well, Well, I guess
Anything
I'll
else
sec-
you-
well, I guess,
Okay.
it's a motion, I guess I'll second it.
Yeah, and then, do we need to have a motion for
I
that?
don't know if we do. Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve these names to the Affordable Housing Committee as suggested prior.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
I don't see any, I think that was everybody, so no abstentions, no no's. Okay. Any other appointments?
Yes, I got two from the majority side, Sustainable Rocky Hills Task Force. I would like to nominate Bhaskar Pandya to that task force, which will close out the remaining one which we needed to from the majority side. And on the Memorial Naming Committee, I would like to nominate Steve Slattery, who was part of the committee prior, and we'd like to continue him on the committee as well.
And I have one staff member that I will
Yes.
be appointing. That would be Michael, Library Director,
Okay.
Mike Murphy.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that's about it.
That's
Thank you.
everybody? Okay.
With that, I'd like to propose an amendment to tonight's agenda, add as this would be new business item A regarding recreational trail grant for discussion and possible action.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll move on to the subcommittee reports. We'll start with finance. And I could say the finance committee,
We do minutes?
oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the minutes. Go backwards, approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the February 20th, 2024 Town
Second.
Council meeting.
Okay, first and second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I'll move to the subcommittee reports. Try again. Finance. The Finance Committee is scheduled to meet on the 14th at 6 PM. We have not met since the last council meeting. Government Operations.
Government operations was not scheduled to meet since our last Town Council meeting. We are scheduled next on March 18th at 5 p.m.
Public Safety.
Yeah, so public safety last met on February 21st, and we haven't met since. We'll meet in 2 weeks, so no report.
All right. Senior Liaison has not met. We need to pick a new date for our meeting, which was April 22nd, and we'll reschedule a new date for that. Land Acquisition and Farmland Preservation.
Some updates on the Rocky Hill Community Farm, the mitigations that's successfully been completed. The contractor's been grading the site. There's been a little problem with the grading. He didn't follow the site plan, so the excess material he banked up against some trees, approximately 20 to the south and 6 trees to the north, which is going to result in them dying. It was recommended to town staff that the contractor pull the material back off the trees so that they could survive. Town elected not to do that, so they're going to have the town crew come in there at some point and remove the trees from the site because they're going to die and create a safety hazard. Town manager hired a consultant, Bob Alvarado, a retired wetland person from the town. He's going to oversee the site from thus through the building and the barn. Town manager did get an extension, thankfully, for the barn. He did a good job getting that. We're supposed to have the barn built by March 4th. He has an extension now till June 30th to get that barn completed. And hopefully the barn will start the first part of April. And we'll be moving forward from there. That's it, my report.
Just an update, we're looking to have the barn started this week, the foundation, so that's positive.
Excellent.
Liaison to the state's representative and state senator.
Yeah, I reached out to Representative Wood and Senator Lesser. Did not hear anything from Representative Wood, but from Senator Lesser's office, I do have a handful of items. Last week, Senator Lesser joined Governor Lamont and local officials in Rock Hill to highlight the upcoming state police enforcement campaign to protect our roads in high-risk areas and reduce the number of wrong-way crashes, including installation of new technology along highway ramps across the state. Senator Lesser also attended the grand opening of the Ella Rose Studio Beauty and Wellness on the South Dean Highway. They'll offer hair and self-care services there. He also recently announced provisions of SB 8, a new comprehensive prescription reform bill which will tackle shortages of critical drugs, partner with a nonprofit generic drug maker, and pass on the new prescription drug savings negotiated by Medicare to everybody to bring in safe, affordable prescription drugs from Canada and ensure the lowest cost insulin is available at no cost to Connecticut residents. HB 5056 was recently announced, designed to dismantle barriers embedded in state statutes and foster a seamless collaboration between municipal governments and regional councils of governments. The primary aim is to simplify the process, allowing these entities to form partnerships for the procurement of resources and services. Regards to a Medicaid rates study press conference, Senator Lesser co-hosted a Medicaid rate study press conference where a diverse panel of healthcare professionals discussed the implications of the most recent Phase 1 Medicaid rate study. Following the press conference, a joint informational briefing with the Appropriations Committee provided a deeper understanding of the study's findings and facilitated dialogue on enhanced Medicaid rates. With tax season drawing near, the VITA/IRS Volunteer Tax Assistant Program is again available to help taxpayers get help with filing and support. This program offers free aid for filers to get advice and file their taxes for free and can connect families to important tax credits, and others may help get important tax credits. You can visit simplifyct.org to find a location near you and schedule an appointment either in person or virtually. The Federal Environmental Protection Agency this week announced that Connecticut will receive nearly $61.4 million in federal funding for drinking water and clean water infrastructure upgrades in the state. About half of the funds will be available as grants or principal forgiveness loans to support underserved communities needing these investments. They'll be used to upgrade and improve water infrastructure in towns and cities, supporting delivery of clean and fresh water, reducing the impacts of stormwater, and upgrading water treatments against contaminants like PFAS. This on top of the $235 million that has already supported water infrastructure projects across Connecticut, protecting public health, preserving water resources, and creating jobs. And lastly, this week the Legislature's Human Services Committee, of which Senator Lesser is a co-chair, will hold two public hearings tomorrow, March 5th, and on March 7th, both at 11 a.m. More information on the bills to be discussed and how to sign up to provide testimony can be found at https://www.cga.ct.gov/hs. That's it.
Thank you. School liaison?
Yeah, so I don't have a report tonight, but can I go back? I wanted to go back, but I didn't want to interrupt. I did not press hard enough to get your attention. So my fault here, my bad. So I wanted to go back to the report from Councilor Whelan on farmland preservation. Can I ask a couple of questions of Councilor Whelan, Dr. Whelan, in my view now?
Following the consistency from the last meeting, we could add a new business item if you'd like to. This is a report, not the questions and answers. So if you want to amend the agenda like we did the last time, let's be consistent. At our last meeting, we had someone amend the agenda to ask the questions. So if you like, just amend the agenda under new business item B.
Yeah, I would like to amend the agenda under the new business item B. Yeah,
For the
that's the
topic.
motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the
No, no,
question,
New business item B.
new business item B.
So hold it until after we're done with the reports, and we'll do it under new business.
Oh, okay, we'll do it. All right, I got you. Thank you.
The school liaison was no report?
No report, thank you.
Okay, yep. Capital Improvement Committee is scheduled to meet tomorrow night at 5 p.m. And the Economic Development Subcommittee does not have a meeting scheduled at this time. I don't see anything on the consent agenda, so we'll move on to our continued series under old business, Meet the Departments. First up, Rocky Hill Police Department.
Good Good evening, everyone. How are you? Thank you for having me tonight. I've been asked to come and give you a short presentation on the department. We put together some, I think, pretty informative slides, and if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to interrupt. But I'm Chief Brian Klett, and behind me are my two command staff members, Acting Lieutenant Steve Morgan and Lieutenant Officer Gutzfeld, Lieutenant Eric Gutzfeld. Both Eric and Steve have been members of the department for roughly 20 plus 23 years, 24 years for Eric and 22 for Steve. And I've been with this town for 24, be 25 years this year. First of all, I'll start off with our mission statement. We stand behind this as something we adopted through Chief Custer, but it stands true today. Our mission really is to deliver the effective and responsible law enforcement and community-based services to all citizens of the town in a state in a fair and equitable manner. And we'll partner with the community to make Rocky Hill a better place to live, visit, raise, and family, and conduct business. And I can tell you that's something we take very seriously and something we strive for every day to make sure that our officers are treated properly and fairly internally and take that same feeling out onto the road when they're interacting with our public. Here we have our organizational chart. It might be a little hard to see from the screen, but what you're looking at here is how our operation is divided into three real divisions. We have a patrol commander, and that's Lieutenant Gutzfeld's role. The administrative position is currently being served by Acting Lieutenant Morgan. And our investigations division, formerly commanded by Lieutenant Phelps, who is will retire with us in April 1st. So if I can, while I have a second, to thank him for his 22, 23 years of service that he provided us. It's a very strong asset that we are losing to retirement. He's moved on to another career, but we're very fortunate to have had him and his skill set with us for as long as we have. And currently we are undergoing some promotional examinations, and as of Wednesday, we'll have that process completed, and you'll see some new faces amongst our command staff as well as our leadership and supervision on the field level. So if you look at the chart, essentially it's kind of a breakdown of what their responsibilities are within each of those divisions. They're not stagnant. They sometimes change, and they're not necessarily specific, but this encompasses what those divisions look like and where those responsibilities fall. You know, if you take a look amongst our supervisor line on the patrol commander page, you can see that even amongst our sergeants, there are different responsibilities and different assignments that they oversee and maintain and answer back up that chain of command to the patrol commander, Gutzfeld. Any questions on the chart? So the administration consists of the chief of police, the patrol lieutenant, and an investigations, as I just mentioned to you before. Ultimately, through my office and through the work with the patrol commanders, our team serves to direct and guide the police operations of the department, and that is what we would call the command staff. So after next week, like I mentioned, with these promotions we'll have a full command staff. We have been running with an acting position since Chief Custer left. And like I mentioned before, very happy about the fact that we're turning that page and be looking at that new command structure here very shortly. Patrol division, I could take up pages and pages on the patrol side, but that is the primary driver, the most important and largest division of our department, consisting of 6 sergeants, an administrative training sergeant, and our 3 SROs, and currently a single part-time animal control officer on a part-time basis. Them being the largest division within our department consists of approximately 22 patrol officers who staff our road 24 hours a day and are overseen by those 6 sergeants we mentioned earlier. Something not in the slide are some specialized units that we offer where we have partnered with other towns and other communities to kind of bring in services. One we're very proud of, and you probably hear a lot or see in the news, is our Mid-State Accident Reconstruction Team, and that's made up of the 4 towns that surround us between Cromwell, Berlin, Rocky Hill, and Newington, and Weathersfield. And members of our department join those accident reconstruction teams and are called out, and it saves each of our departments the time and the resources to kind of consolidate services and provide a very high level of traffic accident investigations. We have a member of our department assigned to the Hartford DA Task Force, which has been, sometimes you may see some of those press releases, but very instrumental in stopping the drug trade and the flow of drugs from the Hartford area and making their way back into Rocky Hill, and does a fantastic job with them. We also have 2 members on the CREST team, which is the regional SWAT team. So instead of hosting our own team, we've partnered with the Capital Region. There's too many towns to name. But we have 2 officers assigned to that team who are highly trained monthly with that team, and also they have a 2-week training session every summer. So they are SWAT team members on a regional team for which we pay a fee for them to join and continue that team to help out on expenses and equipment, but nonetheless, we don't have to commit a person full-time and lose resources to something like that. Lieutenant Morgan back here wanted me to mention the dive team, also something he's very proud of and serves as the commanding officer. We have assets where the team through Hartford and other towns get together and have the dive team type of responsibilities for car recovery, evidence recovery, anything that deals with waterways. So last year, if you look at our statistics, it's something that does come up in our monthly meetings at Public Safety. It's something, if you're on the Public Safety Committee, you've seen before. But you see a trend, you see kind of a trending pattern where there's ebbs and flows and highs and lows. But for the most part, we don't see huge spikes, and if we do, we address those. So we might see we have an increase in accidents, we try to target those areas. If we see an increase in car thefts or motor vehicle thefts, this is the data that supports those data-driven approach to redirecting our patrol division to areas, and that would be Lieutenant Gutzfeld's responsibility right now to coordinate those efforts through his supervisors and the patrol staff on the road. The other division we talked about is the Criminal Investigations Division, formerly overseen by Lieutenant Phelps. Essentially, we have 3 detectives who serve that capacity in a full-time role, where they're assigned high-level cases, and depending on the nature of that crime, will be assigned to the Detective Division for continued follow-up. There are times when some of these cases involve multi-layers of investigation and multiple hours of whether it be search warrants or ex parte paperwork, documents, and warrants to get access to records. And those cases are something that on a patrol level is just too complex and too time-consuming to allow our officers to do something like that in a patrol capacity, so those cases get pushed up. And the threshold is based on general order. Sometimes it's just based on the nature of the case. But if a case that kind of exceeds what a normal patrol officer should be doing throughout the day and would be time-consuming, that's where our Detective Division comes in. They're available to us 24 hours a day to respond to process crime scenes, to come in and take statements, and to follow up on high-level types of crimes. Our Support Service Division is, while it's probably not, you don't see a heck of a lot here on this page, I can tell you it's probably one of the busier divisions that we have, and the next slide will kind of prove that to you. But right now we have one support service officer who is a full-time officer who's committed to supporting the patrol operation through internal activities such as IT needs, overseeing our body cams, handling digital requests for freedom of information. He is a jack of all trades, and the guy who we try to stress to him to get a lunch break, but he usually doesn't. He's working his butt off. And Mark, if he's home listening, we really appreciate what he's done for us to the extent that he puts it on his own back and takes it personally. But he is driving hard every single day and trying to meet the needs that we have. And every single day we have a system that tracks the needs, or something breaks, or a computer's down, or a computer's broken, or a camera's broken. And as those requests come in, those are all tasks that he is responsible to handle, and I'll show you that page in a minute. Something of note, and actually quite timely, is our CALEA status. We are one of 33 police departments in the state of Connecticut that is currently nationally accredited with the CALEA accreditation nationwide. What it does is it ensures that our policies follow their best practices and recommendations. And when it says 450 mandated standards, it doesn't just mean there's 450 general orders or policies, because within each one of those policies there are bullet points, sometimes 3, 4, 5, sometimes 10 bullets that we have to maintain and prove that we're doing on a regular basis to maintain this status. And why I say it's timely is at the end of the month we are having our first on-site audit of our CALEA accreditation. They're sending a chief from the state of Georgia to come in. And what that Chief Scott will do is he will meet with, actually I've talked to the mayor today about sitting down and maybe having that conversation, and the manager and other town officials to really give them the feedback on how we're performing and how you view us. And it's an opportunity for the CALEA accreditation folks to come in and really give us a really good scorecard about how we're doing. And every year we have an online assessment, and this year is the in-person. It's on a rotation. So what's nice about this accreditation status is that you should know, and the community should know, is that every 3 to 4 years we have had every standard reviewed. We have every standard either revised if needed, but we also have to prove that we're doing that. And what's I can tell you, I'm very proud to say, is our last 2 virtual assessments, we have had 0 policies not in compliance. And it's unheard of. The officer responsible for that does a heck of a job working hard to make sure that we're getting on top of our officers and our sergeants and our lieutenants to make sure we're doing and practicing what we preach. And for council and for people at home, is not an easy thing to maintain, and it holds it aligned. And I think it's a real important piece to know that we are really working hard and striving hard every day to meet that standard. Beyond that, it exceeds the state mandates, and it is a federal best practice that we are continuing to participate in. The next slide, I mentioned that support service position, and I just wanted to highlight, this is not an all complete list of what Officer Lombardi does in that support service capacity, but these are just a few things that one position is doing for us. Some of it's on a daily basis, some of it's, depends on demand, but those are just a few of the things that he's responsible for between CAD, RMS, administration, digital evidence, pulling videos and prepping videos for court, installation and repairs, coordination with Capital Region, assistant our communications division, OSHA compliance, and on it goes. If there's one job, if you ever wanted to talk to about the complexity and nature and length of what they do, that's a job I would spend a few minutes talking to, and you'll probably need another day to do it. As I mentioned, the CLIA standards with 33, so our on-site coming. And what I failed to mention is the accountability, the increased legal defense from civil litigation, and increased community advocacy. One big piece with them is that we are required to do a yearly survey, which we have continuously up on our Atlas One app, which you can go in, link right there, and leave comments that go directly to our in-basket. And as well as that, we actually have to make a public notice about this CALEA process, which we've done back in January, in preparation for this visit next month. Our communications division, we upgraded our center about 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now. It was a very big investment that the town made to move our dispatch center upstairs and add a third pod in there. One thing you might note here is a number of screens they have to look at at any given time. What you're looking at on your picture is 3 individual pods. So at any point based on schedule, during our day shift, we run 2 dispatchers, and evening shift 2. And midnights will be a minimum of 1 depending on the staffing level. But at any given time, those chairs are full, and if you call our station, that's the room you're calling. They do a fantastic job of maintaining over 40,000 calls, whether that be 911 and or regular phone calls every single day, and monitoring radio traffic from all parts of the state and our surrounding partners as well. Within our records division, we have 2 full-time clerks, and they handle on an everyday basis our pistol permits, our FOI requests, and records retention. Something we're very proud of that center is, and it's unlike some other departments, I could say, because we kind of went around and researched. We were having a storage problem at one point. We had years and years of records that had just not been destroyed, going back to the 50s. And so we reached out to some police departments, and we really found a way to leverage our CAD RMS system to really enhance our destruction process in accordance with the state library and the state requirements, to the extent now that we went from a room that we were afraid we were going to run out of room to tell you that we were prepared for the next 50 years in there by the way we're doing and filing our system. It's a pretty neat system in that, depending on the nature of the case and the status of the case, it gets filed a certain way. And so when it comes time for destruction, anybody who's worked in the field with yearly maintenance and retention, you got to go through every file. We don't have to do that anymore because of a really unique way we do things, and they just walk in and put their arm on the top shelf, and 10 years ago, that's all going in the junk, and everything we need to retain has been properly secured and filed for life if it has to be that way. It's pretty unique. Finally, I'll answer any questions you have, but it is something we wanted to mention to you. We are doing an Atlas One notification program with the Senior Center on March 14th, where we're going to get a team together at the Senior Center to try to help some of those folks with their iPhones and their Google phones to get this app loaded. It's not the easiest thing to do sometimes, and we thought we want to try to gain some more followership there, so we'll be there on the 14th. Something that Lieutenant Morgan has put together is Escape Alive Survival Series. It's a free defense training class for women and girls over 12. And then obviously on August 6th, we have our yearly National Night Out, which last year was well attended, and if you weren't there, I really encourage you to come out and visit us. It's a fantastic program that puts us out there with the community, kind of on some in uniform, some not, but it's a really great way just to interact with our public and put something together and get kids and family out in the same place and interacting with them. And then finally, just to mention a couple programs that we do, as well as the community events. We have an internship program. We actually have an intern now who just completed about his 40th hour of a 120-hour internship. We coordinate with the Rock Hill High School for job shadowing. The Rock School Resource Officer Football Fridays. If you're around on Friday and drive by Mosier School, you'll see Officer Jordan out there throwing around the football with the schools, and it's been really, really successful and really, really supported. And a couple of our officers have gone. One took a real big digger. I'd love to show you that picture another time. He'd be very embarrassed, but he was out there, he earned it, and he was going for the pass and didn't work out for him, but he's okay. And finally, we do regular car seat installations upon request. Any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that report, Chief. Chief, one topic that continues to generate a lot of discussion and I think a lot of misinformation is the change a few years ago on the policies for hot pursuit. And I'd like to have kind of a two-part question. First of all, can you just kind of walk us through the process of how that change came about and what it actually is, what the guidelines are? And the second part is, how has the department adapted to that to allow yourselves to still do your jobs effectively, even
Sure.
with that change in policy? Thank you.
So it might be controversial. Some people tend to think that the pursuit policy changed with the police accountability bill, and that's not accurate. It actually changed through our post-standard, our post-council. There's a council of folks who oversee us in Meriden who write our notices and our minimum standards, if you will, that we have to follow. That policy or the manner of which we could pursue changed. And what that did was it essentially said that we can no longer pursue a car for a non-violent felony or something very serious. I'm trying to keep it simple for you. So we would not be able to chase a car for a taillight violation or a headlight violation. What really the post-council and a lot of chiefs also support is that the risk just outweighs, to go catch a guy for a taillight violation doing 75 to 100 miles an hour just puts the people at risk. It puts the officer at risk. And so we've had to back off on those types of stops that we were used to in the old days. I mean, I think everyone behind me has been in some sort of pursuit down 91 somewhere. But those days have changed and for the better good of keeping our public safe. How have we adapted? Well, you've adapted by supporting our license plate reader system, number one. So that system in itself has almost made our job easier, that we can use our camera system to capture that information of that car and try to identify the subject. But I'm not going to lie to you. As of my last count, there was about 57 cars last year alone that took off on us where we lit them up, tried to effect a traffic stop, and the car just took off and didn't stop, waved and said goodbye, and we had to watch them go away. And how do we adapt to that? Well, we use better tactics. We use our license plate reader system. But no matter how hard we try, we have spike strips and other materials we can use to try to stop and deflate a tire. But in reality, cars are going to take off on us. And but to keep everyone safe and you and your families and your kids in your car driving around, the state and the chiefs, it's something we talk about. But I will say it is supported, in the sense that the putting the danger in our officers and society at risk to capture someone for a speeding violation is just not worth it. So how we've adapted: leveraging technology, leveraging equipment, smarter tactics, coming in and making sure that maybe if we have a car that we don't see, maybe we wait for it to pull over in a spot where we can block that car in and make that contact. But that all that together still not stopping the folks that don't want to stop for police to just drive away.
So there are certain types of offenses for which hot pursuit is still an option?
Correct.
Like what's the dividing? Because you talked about broken tail, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. Where's kind of the cutoff where pursuit is still an option, similar to this change versus what type of offenses
It's
hasn't changed?
it's safe for only the highest level of criminal offenses and highest level of where that suspect would pose a danger to society, that us pursuing them and creating that risk is lower than that person getting away. So is there a list of statutes? No. It's subjective based on the call and discretion of the officer and the supervisor. But if you could imagine, it would be the kidnapping suspect, the robbery suspect where there was a shot fired, someone who, that magnitude of crime where a pursuit would be automatically permittable and not have to be considering whether or not you were pushing a line on a policy.
Okay, thank you.
So basically what you're saying is it'd be the officer's discretion if the public's safety is best served by chasing or not chasing.
As long as the policy, as the standard is written for motor vehicle violations or stolen car even for that matter, the answer is no.
But it would be like
We're talking a high-level felonious subject who just broke into your home, assaulted you and your family, kidnapped your cousin down the street. is on a crime spree rampage where we need to get this person off the road, and officers exceeding limits and driving at fast speeds and pushing the suspect at greater speeds, we're weighing a balance between what's too much and what's too little and how much risk we're putting one at. But sometimes a real-time life call on the moment within seconds. Sometimes it's very easy. Murder suspect, we had one day out of New York, the car was intended not being him, the car just came down here, but we knew if we got that person, that probably would have triggered us to go out there and try to stop that car. But for the most part, the everyday crime, low-level misdemeanors, we're not going to pursue a vehicle.
Thank you.
One question, but just the first on that. So in an instance where somebody you're trying to pull over does take off, is there ever an instance where days, weeks later, that car makes its way back into town and it gets found by the police and there's additional charges besides whatever?
Yes.
You know,
So, I mean, those are hard. The answer to that question is yes. And with the use of our LPR system, we have made those types of arrests afterward, where we are able to put that vehicle, that license plate into our system so that if it ever does return, we get notified with what's called a department alert. But the hard part about that statute is to prove the operator of the vehicle. Right now, you have to be able to put this person in that seat, and it lacks in the statute the prima facie. So as an example, if your car is used in an evading motor vehicle accident, the statute provides that it's your car. We don't have to ask any more questions. You're responsible, and you can be cited and arrested for that evading charge. Whereas with the pursuits, we don't have that prima facie where we can say the owner of the car is responsible. You know, then you get in the stolen car and the owner's not there.
Right.
But to do a thorough investigation with use of the LPR, if the plate matches, track back maybe a picture from our body cams or from our car cams, yes, arrests are possible. It's lengthy, and you got to get the right facts and elements of the crime together to do that.
gotcha. Okay. So the actual question I have, which is completely different from what everybody's talking about, is there, I know we've talked over the years about the possibility of introducing electric vehicles to the fleet. Is that something that's on the table? Is that something that's not feasible for us? Or what's kind of the department's viewpoint to?
You know, so, well, losing Joe, Lieutenant Phelps recently being our fleet manager, I would have to defer that to respond to you right now and be something I could look at if that's the direction the town wanted to go. I can tell you, though, that the concern that I would have just talking with you today is when we are operating on those historical snowstorms and blizzards when we don't have power or we're on generator and have to have cars readily available and to be held by whether we have an access to a power source or not. And I don't know the reliability of them. If I were to study it, I'd probably look out west where the terrain and the weather conditions are such that they really could probably give you a better feedback, but it's not something we're looking at right now.
Okay, thanks.
I noticed 2 vacancies in the dispatcher. Is that are you actively looking to fill those vacancies? Were they somebody who just left recently?
In dispatch, we only have a candidate background right now, and once that's complete, that will have completed our total of 9 in that center. I think they're just waiting for a medical exam to be scheduled for that position.
Okay. And then support services. I know we're losing Joe and valuable member of the fleet management. Now, this is it Lombardi at support services?
Correct.
What if we lost him?
Well, the nice thing about where we're going with the department, right? This is, you know, I've been in this position since April and full-time since July. And succession planning is certainly something top of the manager's list as well. And, you know, looking at that, it's something with his time on, certainly, you know, he's got about 7 years to go if our conversations are accurate. And that gives us time to start mentoring and shadowing people, which is something that we would absolutely be doing. But his skill set is broad, and you're right. If we were to lose him, it's another valuable asset. But I'm committed to the manager's vision and plan as well to look at succession and starting to plan for that by looking for interested officers. It may not be today or tomorrow, but in the near future, to shadow and mentor with somebody like Mark in other positions as well, not just his.
You know, that 7 years is great to hear. Yeah.
Chief, you mentioned earlier, and we talked about it before the meeting, about the LPRs, the use of technology as a tool within the police department. What other types of tools using technology are of interest to the department or coming out that you guys, as a department, could see as beneficial?
Well, you know, we started a drone program a couple years ago. That's good for emergency responses and maybe targeted events. There's a couple of pieces of equipment out there that I've looked at in the past, not so much recently for this budget, but there's something called Star Chaser, which you may have seen in the news, is where you put a product on the front of a patrol car, and as you get close to your bumper, can activate like a sticky ball that sticks to your back of your car and actually provides a GPS location to the car. So there are some legal discussions about whether it's legal and whether we're violating the Fourth Amendment. But that's something that's being used in a couple departments around us. That really would be something coupled with the LPR system could be successful, but pretty expensive. So in addition to that, I mean, there are some that we just upgraded tasers to Taser 7, which is more defense and being down violent subjects. But coupled with that, there's another product out there called the forgive me, the name will come back to me in a second. But essentially, it's like a lasso. Bowler wrap. Thank you. Looks like a taser, but what it shoots is a weighted Kevlar type of rope that wraps around your arms or feet and can basically take you and hold you stationary or not let you fight, which is something I was looking at before Chief Custer retired. Those are also very expensive. So out of respect to the budget process, we're not putting it in there this year, but something that if we can test out with buying one or two, within our operating budget, it'd be something I'd be interested in.
Thank you.
It sounds so futuristic, doesn't it?
We get emails and ads for different products every single day, and you got to vet them. But those two have been on my radar for sure.
I think Weathersfield has this, did you call it Star Catcher?
Star Chaser.
Chaser. Is there opportunity for us to work with surrounding towns to secure funding potentially? You may not know, but for those types of, I think sometimes we go out to bid for different
I'm
types
not sure
of
what
grants.
cycle we're
not
on.
bid, but we apply.
I mean, would you do the JAG grant every other year, Ramona? Is it every other?
Yeah.
It's not every year, but the JAG grant we receive, we've done certain things with that over the course of years, and we've done 3 of them with Mona. Between getting scheduling software and other, we think we used the last JAG grant to buy about 8 or 9 modems at about $2,000 a piece, saving the taxpayers in the budget. So on the next one, it's certainly something that comes up. As far as collaborating with the other towns, like a shared resource, the Star Chaser would be stuck on a car, so that's not really valid, or well, it wouldn't work. We need our own individual things. But we share, as an example, what we do share with other towns. That Mid-State Traffic Team I mentioned is the proud owner or recipient of a very expensive, we'll call it a 3D scanner. So when it goes in, it can be used for crime scenes and can be used for accident reconstruction. So you may see on TV, when you see in an accident scene, you'll see folks holding an orange stick and moving around. And what that's doing is taking data points. The system that we have that's shared by the 5 towns was actually purchased as part of the JAG grant, and we split the maintenance costs between the 5 towns, can be placed in certain positions, and then it scans on a microscopic level to the point that it be used for prosecution in court. It's like the CSI. If you watch CSI, you've seen this thing before. Just think of like a computer that sits around, spins a laser, and shoots millions and millions of dots around and builds this picture. It can be used for 3D reenactments and things like that. So we are doing stuff like that as well.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Chief, excuse me. Do you want to touch upon communications? Yeah, in regards to the budgeting,
Sure. So met with the manager last week regarding preparation for our budget cycle. And so with the change in our leadership and change in our dynamic of our command staff, losing Joe Phelps in his administrative position and his skill set was a real loss for us, but it also has a greater impact on the town as well. And what you don't see is the fact that our radio system is not just the police department system, it is actually the town-wide system for every school, every the fire department EMS. So we maintain that week up. When problems happen, we're the ones who are fixing them on the fly or coordinating with the vendor. And in addition to that, there's yearly updates when it comes to reprogramming radios. When the fire department purchases radios, we'd coordinate with them in the past to do the programming. And the system itself, on its own, yes, if we don't have someone to respond to an emergency, we can call a vendor and we can wait. And that's not how we've done things for the last 12 years with Joe in his administrative position. The problem that I have in the added position to our budget is not only being selfish for the police department, but it's also looking at the advantage to what this position can offer to the town. Because if we don't replace or have someone skilled to do that type of work where, I'll give you a good example. The phone lines go down and have gone down more than a couple times last year for unknown reasons, and Joe comes in, would troubleshoot, find a way to reroute phones through cell phones or whatever. I can't even get into the weeds on how he was really skilled at what he did, but he was skilled because he worked with the system every day, with the dispatch console, with the radio system. And it's my belief that, well, I can tell you that if we don't find a position or don't have somebody with the skill set like we're talking about, the police department is not going to be able to successfully maintain and support the other operations within the town. Right now, the only person we have is a dispatcher who kind of mentored and shadowed with Joe, doing it, kind of helping out when Joe needed help. That I can't just pull a dispatcher off the line in the middle of an emergency or expect the dispatcher to respond from home when it's really not his job. Where Joe was different was he was in an administrative role. He was free to get up from his desk, free to come and go as he pleased, had a take-home car that he drove to respond to emergencies, and committed to the town infrastructure for communication. So, why it's in the budget is because I believe that our department needs it to maintain our system and respond to emergencies as they occur in real time, but also maintain the level of service we've provided the other agencies and other departments in town. We didn't have a PowerPoint for that for you tonight. That's kind of off the cuff, but I know I'll get more questions about it later. But did that answer your question, Manager?
Are you just saying, just to expand a little bit, is part of the need, in addition to obviously you've lost someone who does this role, is part of it though the growing use of technology and all of the different things that are now associated with record retention and.
So we're talking about the infrastructure for the community system townwide.
Mm-hmm.
We have been fortunate before Lieutenant Phelps was promoted into his administrative role. We had another gentleman who was here. His name is Drew. He did a great job kind of facilitating these tasks. Like when a problem was happening, he's coordinating with the vendor right away. He's coming in and troubleshooting on the spot. In addition to that, servicing the other departments like the fire department and EMS when they have needs for programming or other issues with their radios. To be fair, and to be fair to my department and to be fair to my employees, I can't just expect a dispatcher whose primary role is to be in the center answering calls and yank them off the line and say, go see what you do to fix it. It's not fair to the other dispatchers who have to now be sitting there working alone and don't have someone else next to them. It's also not fair to the employee who is being asked to do more than really that's in their job description. So when we talk, and I spoke with Chief Garrahy about the fact that they've been so used to the Lieutenant Phelps coming and helping them when they had to reprogram, when something went down, driving to the site, the radio sites that we have in town, figuring out the problem before even having to call a vendor, and keeping us up and running faster than we could if we just relied on our vendor. So, it comes down to whether or not that's acceptable. If we want to be down for an hour, 2 hours, and have to wait and respond, and sometimes we have to. Sometimes we can't fix it.
So I'm sorry, I know you're going to get into this in the budget, but I'm just curious, is this then, because you said Joe, would respond to emergencies in his car, are you anticipating it in just a purely administrative position or an officer who's then going to serve in a dual capacity?
My thought and how it's placed in the budget is looking for a position within the communications center, which we've called the communications coordinator. That person could also serve as a supervisory position within the police department to actually oversee communications training, the overall function, serve as a supervisory role within the center, but also take on these tasks to take care and maintain our communications system, the phones, the telephones, the radios. So for us as a police department to win where we're shifting some of the responsibilities to oversee dispatch, you're asking and it's a complicated system. It's a complicated job for which even the best of us who've been working in the department forever, they speak a different language than we do. And it's time, and other departments around us have positions similar to these, having a specialist inside there who can actually be a one-on-one supervisor for the center, handle administrative and personnel matters like a sergeant would, but also leverage that position to bring benefit back to the town and the other departments that will need it, number one, but also number two, when that time comes and Chris who's helping out is not available are left to be really fending for themselves at times, which is likely to happen if it's not working or he's not a third dispatcher on the line where he can help out. I mean, we're just, in a sense, we're just saying, yeah, well, he's here, he can fix it. And I don't think that's the right way to do our job. I don't think that's the right way just to say, well, he's capable, but it's not really his job, but he'll go figure it out. That's not professional. I don't think it's a good use of our resources, and I think it's actually, you know, will they do it? Sure. They'll do whatever they're asked to do, because they fight for the mission, they fight for all of us. But if we're looking to build and grow and expand, provide the same level of service and same level of response to the rest of the town, that's why I put the position in.
In your opinion, on, just to piggyback on that question, do you think that should be a shared financial support from like the fire department or other departments? Because if they're helping out more than just your department,
Sure.
is it fair that you're bearing the burden of the financial support?
I will listen, if you look at our budget on the second page, we pay the radio contract and the maintenance contract for the entire town. We've always in my way. So we budget for the department for the maintenance contract for Norcom, and the matrix contract with Motorola has been coming out of our budget since I've been doing the budget for the last 10 years. So as far as where the money comes from, I'll throw that at Mona. She's the wizard over there. But what I can say is not only does the department have a need, so does the town. If we don't have a person like this and like we're talking about.
Yeah, I just don't, I want it to be fair to your budget too, you know? so,
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm comfortable. What it does for me, putting it in our budget, right, is it gives me the ability to leverage this position into a dispatch coordinator, dispatch supervisor, and adds an element and a level of supervision to our department that would be more specialized and more focused on what that job really is. So there's a mutual benefit here to both the town, the other services, and our department as well.
And I think, too, one of the key things is that starting to build that succession plan, right? Because, yeah.
Sure. In that position is also an opportunity for advancement within the dispatch center that doesn't have a place to go within their department. You're a dispatcher. You're here you do your 20 years, and there's nothing to aspire to. I mean, they do a great job. I can't brag about them enough, but in any organization, growth is important, and this is an opportunity for advancement in the future. It's healthy for them too.
Perfect.
Speaking about the succession plan, we talked about Officer Lombardo, how you're getting ready to train somebody to do his job. Why wasn't somebody trained to do Lieutenant Phelps' job?
It's a good question. It predates me. What I can say is that the skill set that he has is very specialized. What he began to do when he knew he was getting ready to retire, Joe, I don't want to, it's really not fair to be bringing his name up, but let's just say that he didn't really make up his mind about his future until more within the last 6 months. So when that 6-month mark hit, that was under my watch, and that's when he started really shadowing and mentoring with Chris to hold us down and hold us together. And I'm confident that Chris can do that for us in the interim. And but that's where that process was. The day that we knew that position was going to leave us and that skill set was the day we began shadowing and getting the dispatcher trained, at least to hold things down until we could have this conversation.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great night. And thank you for your service. Okay, moving on to old business B, meet the Department, Parks and Recreation. Good evening.
Hey, Craig, you have 3 minutes.
Great.
I don't think I've ever seen any of you in a tie before.
Really?
Really?
Nick brought his only 3 ties, and we had to choose before.
And do they say like Rocky Hill Parks and Rec?
They're clip-ons.
We're nice and branded. No, it's like the ties that you just tie it once and you keep it in your closet for a couple of years. Well, as you guys know, I think I'm pretty familiar even with the newer members of the council. I'm Craig Bowman. I'm the director of the Parks and Recreation Department. And do I just hit the arrow to the right? So I'm going to do this a little bit differently than everyone else. I do have Nick and Logan here, and I figured this would be a good opportunity for them to get up in front of you guys and explain some things that they do for our department, because I think that's important for them and important for the public to know and for you to know, obviously. But first, I just want to start off with a quick video. I think it should play in your monitors, but it's from the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association, which is one of our state delegations and that we're highly involved in as a department. So.
We're so much more. We are the go-to for affordable childcare such as after-school programs and summer camps. We create safer communities by providing life-saving education and emergency services. Our departments maintain safe access to parks and open spaces, keeping recreation opportunities available year-round. We're here to create opportunities for people of all ages and abilities to live an active and healthy lifestyle, supporting mental and physical wellness. Your local park and recreation department. It's so much more.
So, Mr. Emanuel, don't get any ideas about the ice skating that was on the video there. Global warming is happening right now. So a couple things just to fill you in with Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association. Logan was a Camp College chair for 10 years with CRPA. Nick is highly involved in the aquatics committee. He's also on the conference committee for helping plan the state conference. I've been on the quarterly committee before. I've spoken at the last 2 state conferences. I've led 2 sessions. So our department is at the forefront. I like to look at our department as one of the forward-thinking departments in the state. We're very solution-oriented, trying to look ahead, trying to predict. So I think that's kind of an important thing that we want you guys to know about. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Yeah, we've also, Logan has won an award for Outstanding Young Professional. We've won awards for innovative programming from our department. And then there's some other affiliations there. But NRPA we're involved in, as well as the Tree Wardens Association. My favorite part of the job. And then want to meet the team. So I've got Logan here. I want to welcome him up. Come on up. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Logan. I've met most of you, I think, at this point. I've been here in Rocky Hill for about 8 years now. A little bit about me. I actually grew up working for Park and Rec. My first job was a camp counselor at Summerscape. So Summerscape is very near and dear to me. I actually grew up, became camp director there, developed my passion for Parks and Recreation through this town. Actually was the department intern at one point. So it's pretty nice to be able to come back and work for the town that you grew up in and, started your career off in. From a certification background, I'm a certified aquatics facility operator, certified Parks and Recreation professional, and something that's a little bit unique, I'm also a certified ALICE instructor. So I also work with the police department and their ALICE instructors to train our staff on ALICE training. A little bit of a fun, quirky fact about me. Downstairs, we have the Rocky Hill Athletic Hall of Fame. I was inducted to the Athletic Hall of Fame for ice hockey in 2022, so I get to see my mugshot every day whenever I go to my desk. Some of my larger responsibilities that I have for the town, I have oversight of many of the town's special events. Some ones that you might be familiar with are Hop Around the Hill, which is coming up this month. The Summer Concert Series, National Night Out. I work with the police department collaboratively on that one. Fall Fest, One in Wonderland, and so on. I also have oversight of the Recreational Youth Fall Soccer League. As you might know, soccer is a very big sport in this town. We're one of the few Park and Rec departments that still have oversight of a recreational soccer league. We get about 300 athletes that participate in this league every year, and we also make this league successful with volunteer coaches that we secure, we screen them, we educate them prior to the season starting to keep that going. One of my larger responsibilities is youth camps. That's my area of specialty. Large part of it is creating and offering youth camp programming throughout the year. Of the offering, Summerscape is the largest operation that we oversee. We attract about 300 campers on a weekly basis in the summer, ranging from preschool all the way to grade 8 for nearly 2 months of operation. We've also designed a successful curriculum-based counselor and training program to help educate and motivate youth to explore a job as a camp counselor. And we're seeing participants go through this program and become counselors, which is awesome to see. We've also enhanced our staff training annually to mold our staff to the highest possible standard of care for youth and families alike while adapting to the current needs of the community. Along those lines, one of the biggest challenges that we are facing right now within the youth camp environment is the rapid increase of youth in crisis. Our staff are encountering it more and more than ever before. So as a department that prides itself being one of the leading camp operations in the state, we've proactively teamed up with Melissa Hicks and Kelly Ayala of Human Youth and Senior Services to enhance our staff training and resources, develop and introduce sensory rooms, and establish on-site crisis response through collaborative effort with their department going into the summer. So that's an exciting project we're working on to help support our campers and staff alike. Also work on community partnerships and relationships. So a big part of that is interdepartment relationships. We partner through programs. An example would be partnering with the Board of Education. We offer the Junior Terrier programs where we work with the varsity coaches and their athletes in a mentorship capacity, and we get the youth engaged. And it kind of helps develop a feeder program to keep those kids interested in those sports continuing into the high school level. We also do integration through special events and youth camps. Many departments we work with the library, Human Youth and Senior Services, our first responders, and we work on events like National Night Out, for example, and other youth camp programs as well to get them involved. And lastly, but not least, sponsorships. A lot of our big special events, we work with a lot of the local businesses and organizations in town to develop partnerships, whether it's with our soccer programs, our special events, things like that. So I've talked enough. I want to have Nick Pizzoferrato come up and introduce himself now.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having us here. So as Logan said, my name's Nick Pizzoferrato. I've been with this department about 3.5 years. September of 2020, during kind of the height of COVID, I was hired. I always joke that Craig actually only hired me because he wanted to just be the only guy in the office with hair. So thank you for that, Craig. So I came from Newington. I was born and raised in Newington, where I eventually went from being a lifeguard to being the rec supervisor, overseeing aquatics there as well, along with some programs and special events. Similar to Logan, we kind of do a multitude of different things, but my specialty, my background is in aquatics. Programming is a big piece of what I do too, so I coordinate and plan most of the programming for the evenings and weekends in the community center, from fitness and exercise classes to cultural arts and other sort of recreational activities like that. I'm always looking for new programs and trying to always offer a new program. Typically, I try to offer at least one per season. We typically work in seasons in Parks and Rec, so we have our summer brochure that we're planning right now, and always looking to try a new program each season. One of my other main responsibilities is the Youth Recreational Basketball League. We just wrapped that up this past Saturday, which I'll miss it, but it's also a big sigh of relief. That's a pretty big undertaking for the season. We start practices the week after Thanksgiving, and it goes through until now. So it's a pretty lengthy program that I oversee. We have Rec League for grades 1 through 12. We've been trying some new things, different things with that. And as you'll learn, I'm always open to new ideas. So I ask the coaches what thoughts they have for the upcoming season. And even in the initial coaches meeting in November, if there's still a change I can implement to try to see if we can refine our process or do whatever we can to make it a fair and equitable league for everybody, that's what we look to do. We have over 35 coaches in that program and about 350 players. I also oversee the Ferry Park boat launch. Down at Ferry Park, we have about 8 staff members that staff us on Friday evenings and then Saturdays and Sundays. And like I said, my main responsibility, and primarily I do aquatics, so I oversee the operation of both the outdoor pool at Elmridge Park as well as the indoor pool at the high school. I also have a wonderful aquatics director that I work well with that's been here for over 20 years. She started as a lifeguard, and she's a really big asset for our town and helps with the day-to-day operations like staffing, monthly trainings, and that type of stuff. And then Walt, the crew leader for Parks and Grounds, he helps on the back end of things. He's in the pump room or the filter room, checking chemical readings and making sure that everything is operating properly. So he's a huge asset. Between the three of us, we all make sure that the pools are running smoothly. We have about 40 lifeguards throughout the year, and that includes anywhere from about 8 to 15 or 16 water safety instructors. So as you can see, a couple of the designations that I have, one of them is WSIT, that's Water Safety Instructor Trainer. I actually had to travel to Maryland to get that. The American Red Cross holds academies, and Craig was kind enough to allow me to go do that academy. There's not many WSITs, so it's a pretty big advantage for the town of Rocky Hill for us to have an in-house water safety instructor trainer that can train people. I actually just hung up with Canton today, and the town of Glastonbury emailed me literally today looking for water safety instructor classes. So that's how uncommon it is to have somebody in-house. So it's great that Craig was willing to let me go and do that. And it's going to save us a lot of money for training instructors, and it's also going to enable us to staff our instructor roster. A lot of towns struggle to staff lifeguards and aquatic staff at all, and that is one thing that I've never struggled with since I started here, and my predecessor said she also never struggled with. So we're very fortunate in Rocky Hill to constantly have staff. We have a lifeguard class starting up on Wednesday where we have 10 more people that at least 8 of them I know of that want to apply to the Rocky Hill pools. So we're constantly being fed good lifeguards, including through the high school runs a lifeguard class through one of the gym teachers, Dave DeBose, who I work closely with too, and he sends me people as well. Throughout the year, our pools are utilized for several purposes. It's the home pool for 4 swim teams. It's host to thousands of hours of public swim time throughout the year, dozens of sessions of swim lessons, the host site for Summerscape Camp Swim and several aquatics training courses, and a host site for our Sea Cubs program, which is an adaptive swim program, which is run by Lisa Cooney, the high school swim coach. As far as visits to the pool goes, Craig and I have been discussing recently. We always used to measure pool visits by how many people actually came and paid to use the pool, or how many people we checked off used their pool pass. But the more we were thinking about it, the more we were realizing how often these pools actually do get utilized, rather than just, oh, we have a member of the public coming to swim. We have 4 swim teams. That's the 2 high school teams, and then we have a summer and then a winter and or fall-winter swim team as well, the Sea Lions swim team. On the Sea Lions swim teams, we usually have about 60 to 80 swimmers, and the high school teams usually have between 25 and 35. So we started thinking of it a little bit differently. How many times did somebody actually go into the pool, utilize the pool? And we came up with a number of about 30,000 between fiscal year 22 and 23, or during fiscal year 22 and 23. And that's actually pretty conservative because I didn't even measure or calculate the number of visiting swim teams that came to actually swim here for swim meets. So we're probably pushing about 40,000 times that somebody actually went into the pool for their visit that day, which once we started looking at it that way, we were realizing what an impact we really do have on the aquatics community within Rocky Hill. In one of the more popular programs, you may have heard of it, swim lessons, we increased our number of swim lessons for the year by 10. It doesn't sound like much, but that's about almost 10% increase. We went up to about 120 swim lessons for the fiscal year 22-23. And as I said earlier, now that I have that WSIT certification to train more, which is to offer more. So for example, this upcoming spring session, instead of just 4 sessions on a Thursday night or a Wednesday night, we are also going to be offering 4 courses or 4 sessions on Saturday mornings. So we were able to do a couple of sessions during Saturday public swim. Now I have enough instructors to have a designated swim time so that we don't have to impact public swim too on Saturdays for this coming spring. Overall, we've been looking to use more and more technology at the pools. We now have pool pass holders scan with a key fob or a key tag like you would use going to the gym or at, Stop and Shop. They have like the key tags, and we use that on a tablet, which records it in our MyRec programming software. So it makes it very easy to get an idea of how many people are visiting our pools for public swim. Our schedule for staff is now fully electronic, and you'll see some other developments coming, one being a TV display at the indoor pool with the schedule displayed on it, that once I update it here in the office, it's updated instantaneously for pool users that are visiting the pool, rather than having to print a schedule and get an updated schedule there when things change. So thanks again for having us tonight, and I will hand it back over to Craig.
All right, I'm done. Thanks, guys. And just continuing to the staff here, as you know, everyone knows Rita. She's the glue of our department. Just want to let it be known that, you know, she does a lot more than your typical office manager. She goes above and beyond the call of duty. She's very involved in Memorial Day planning for the parade, as well as our Veterans Day planning. She runs a tight ship, and that's one of the reasons why I think our department is as successful as it is. Moving on to the parks crew. Of course, the first guy, I think everyone knows Walt. He can fix anything. He can do anything. Again, he's a very solution-based guy. And, you know, the rest of the guys are on here. I think I think it was a tie between Anthony and Justin as the smiliest guy. So we'll have to hash that out. But, you know, some of the responsibilities of our department, just so you guys know, but we're in charge of all the, you know, outside maintenance and upkeep of all town-owned facilities. So that's your schools, your parks, your open space, your fire departments, your police departments, any of those, town hall, outside, all the beautification of all those properties. You know, obviously we do mowing, we do lining of fields, we groom fields. We do, you know, game prep for baseball and soccer and what have you. We line fields for lacrosse. We're involved in irrigation, aquatics, ferry park dock installation, removal, any maintenance of the ferry park docks. We do that in-house, which is a pretty impressive operation if you actually sit back and watch how it all, and that takes, you know, the help of the fire department, who we work really well with as well. So, you know, we do that. Any special event setup, any tree planting, any tree removals, trash pickup, you know, maintaining our equipment, obviously snow removal. And just one thing I want to add that Walt has done in the past couple of years. Walt started up I want to say it's a 4 or 5 town consortium between Rocky Hill, Cromwell, Berlin, Newington, and at times Weathersfield, where they meet monthly to discuss any problems they might be going through, or if there's any new cutting edge technology that they're using to help make their jobs easier. We've also shared equipment before, which is a huge thing. Like if a mower breaks down, you know, they bring a mower to us, or we might bring one of our spare mowers to them. So we have a really good working relationship with these towns nearby. So that's the parks crew in a nutshell. But they work really hard, and they do a really, really good job with their job. I also want to take a moment just to let you guys know, like, a lot of people don't understand, our department is very big. We do a lot of hiring. I kind of joke around sometimes like we're like our own little mini HR department, because we have, you know, we're always hiring counselors, or Mona will tell you this. Yeah. You know, seasonal employees, seasonal parks maintainers, instructors. We have a preschool that runs all throughout the school year, 4 days a week, where we have a head teacher and 3 assistant teachers. So I don't think people understand that too. We have a lot of employees that work for our department. Facility supervisors at night that are running the facility while the office is closed. So again, that's us in a nutshell. That's who we are. Moving along, again, I don't want to, you know, get too bogged down on these slides. It's just more of a guide. But I know that Logan and Nick both mentioned MyRec. That kind of keeps us together. That keeps us in line. It tracks all of our activities. It tracks all of our payments, all of our facility calendars. You know, if that's when someone calls, hey, is a field available? That's what we check. We also handle credit card payments. We take payments at the schools now. We take payments at events through the software system, and it works out really well. And also the Board of Ed is on MyRec as well. So any town facility, any building, any activity room, we know what's going on usually at all times. So it's also a great system because we use it to advertise. We found that the best way to reach out to our consumers of our department or customers of our department is through MyRec email blasts. We found that out in a department-wide survey that we conducted a few years ago. They also mentioned that we're in charge of the brochure. Actually, to save money in the past few years, we went from 4 to 3. We combined the winter, spring, and we are pretty much fully digital with that. There are some people that like the tangible, copies of it. So we do print a small amount every season just so people can have that when they need it at their fingertips. Again, don't want to go through every single one of these, but you can see we do offer some adult sports. We're actually going to be doing some drop-in pickleball here pretty soon. I guarantee that will sell out. Camps all throughout the year. We do vacation camps. We do have the 7 weeks of camp during the summer. We have some specialty sports camps. We also have adult activities. Piano lessons is very popular. One of our longest running, actually. Karate and piano have been run by the same people, I want to say, for over at least 20 years, which is huge. Again, we have tons of youth activities. We've dabbled in esports. We've sign language, science. We do some science classes, youth theater. Fitness is big. We have a lot of fitness classes that run during the week, usually from 4:30 to 9 o'clock. We've added another yoga class because it was so popular. And I'm pretty sure that, it says tennis lessons in there, but I know we'll be offering pickleball lessons soon as well at the outdoor courts. Again, Learning Tree Preschool. We have 24 kids. It's a state licensed preschool. And we also handle the registrations for Bright Beginnings, which is a program run by the Board of Ed. And, we do have a great relationship with the youth sports leagues in town. We also run our own soccer. Basketball, as the guys alluded to. So we have a lot going on. And we've also added coding classes as well. Again, Nick did a really good job with the synopsis of our pool. Just let it be known we do have a pool that opened in 1968. So it's 55 years old and it's still running. Thankfully, and a large part of that is due to, again, the professionals that we have servicing the pool and keeping it up to date. Before Nick, it was Livia, and obviously Walt has been the mainstay. And so that's a big one for us. And then the indoor pool, very heavily utilized, as Nick said. And I don't think people understand the importance of swimming and swim lessons in particular. Swimming is the one life skill. I think it's the most important life skill, survival skill that you can have. I think that's huge. And with having a WSIT and staff, we can only add those swim lessons because we can train more people to teach the swim lessons through American Red Cross. So it's a big advantage to have. I think I don't know how much we realize how important it is. So that's a big one for our department. Again, special events. Hey, Mayor. The mayor, the Grinch, and actually Buddy the Elf is going to be our department intern this summer, TJ. So we've actually done a really good job in the past couple of years. I think one thing we alluded to in the beginning of the talk was how we are forward thinking. We're always trying to think ahead. We've rebranded our events in the past 3 or 4 years. These guys, when I first took over, it was more of a hey, she's got this, he's got this. And there's no, now it's we all have this. We do it together. And I think that's important. We're very team-oriented in that respect. So again, I don't want to go through all of them. You guys see them. You guys have the presentation. But we have a lot of things going on, and that's our job, is to, to bring happiness and fun to the public.
Craig, where are the pool parties?
We had a couple last summer. Well, get them on the list. The Hawaiian one, the Hawaiian theme. And then again, at Parks and Trails Overview, 19 fields. I think it ends up being, several hundred acres of maintained space by our guys. We have a lot of trails that are actively used by, and again, a time to shout out the volunteer trails managers that do help us out. The Ed Ciccarellos, the Sandy Kellys, Luis Moreira, Diane Grenier. Those people are, and Alan Baglia helps out at Quarry Park. They're just an extra set of eyes on the trails that we don't get to every single day. And then this year, again, Logan touched on the partnership sponsorships. We also introduced the Rockstar Awards. It was a big success. So we're going to continue to do that moving forward, where we honor people in the public, businesses, community partners who have, helped us behind the scenes to make these things happen. So, and last but not least, I want to bring them up one more time. This will be really quick, just to talk about a couple things that we're looking at moving forward. And I'll close this thing out for you guys and then take any questions you might have. So who's up here?
So as you can see, the first one there, we're looking into the feasibility of a splash pad. For those of you that may not know, splash pads in New England have become a pretty big thing, and oftentimes either an addition to or an alternative to pools. So the advantages are it's a little bit less staff, which helps a lot in costs. Some splash pads don't have any staff. Now, I, as you know, was a lifeguard, so I never want to see our staff go away, but there's also the ideas of having splash pads incorporated into pools. So it's very early in the planning stages. It's not even planning yet. It's more explorative and trying to educate ourselves on, again, the feasibility and the options that are out there. But they are advantageous as well to get some more time out of our aquatics offerings to our residents. We would be able to have the splash pad open during the shoulder seasons, which would allow us to be open from about April through the end of September, typically in a normal year. And the great thing about the splash pads nowadays is they are all water on demand, so it's not just constantly running, wasting water. It would be if somebody goes into the splash pad, they could hit a button at a certain feature, and that feature would then turn on. It doesn't turn on. Again, learning.
As Craig had mentioned, we're definitely working. So on the innovative side, this is a project I'm pretty excited to announce I'm working on right now. The department's exploring a golf simulator. So as a former hockey player, great off-season sport was always golf for me. Some might say I look like Happy Gilmore out there, but I try not to. So a quick update on that. We've had interest expressed in developing a golf simulator at the community center. We're currently in the conceptual phase right now. And simulator, golf simulator companies and other stakeholders who would play a role in this project. Some of the details I can share at the moment, we are looking to utilize the existing stage in the gymnasium for staging simulator. On preliminary measurements, it looks like we would start with one simulator, but there is space for two simulators on the stage. There's a lot of statistics out there that the ROI would be recouped within the initial year. We would make back the initial investments pretty quickly on this. So initially, we would start with one simulator, try to recoup the investment, and then we would expand from there. As far as offerings go, sky's the limit. There's so much you can do with this technology, and it's really incredible what's out there right now. They're even talking about 4K definition for the simulators right now, which they're coming out with. But we'd be looking to do golf instruction, golf leagues, golf tournaments, and it's cool enough where we can make the tournaments as customizable as possible. So we could do closest to the pin, we could do longest shot, all that kind of stuff. So that's a neat project I can say we're working on right now. Turn it back to Craig.
Yeah, so there's a couple more things on there, but, a couple things to wrap up. You know, the staff recruitment retention, just so everyone's aware, we are up against minimum wage. Typically, we used to be the hottest job in town because everyone wanted to work for Parks and Rec, and now they can go to Starbucks and Target and all the big box stores and make $20 an hour. And, you know, now we've had to kind of rethink how we target our applicants. You know, we're trying to get them to look 10 years down the line to their future and what they want to be working in, whether they want to be a teacher or they want to be working with children in a clinical setting perhaps, or things like that. So we've tried to kind of tailor that or change that approach in how we attract candidates. And, you know, we have been kind of ahead of the minimum wage curve with how we've set up our pricing for our camps and our programming. So whereas a lot of departments right now are kind of behind the 8 ball, we are ahead of it. So, but it's still steadily climbing. That it's going to be something that we continue to battle. You know, again, community unification, we're just all about building relationships. So whether it's with our nonprofits, with our leagues, we want to help people. We want to help organizations achieve their goals. And that's something that's important to us. And then something in the future to think about, you know, trail expansion, Goff Brook Lane to Quarry Park into the White Trail. You know, we're looking into that, doing some water mitigation strategies at the quarry, DP, you know, dividend pond oversight. So we got a lot of things going on, a lot of things on the horizon. But, you know, I think in conclusion, I just want you all to know that we are a department that if you need something, we're gonna get it done. That's how we operate. We're a very team-oriented group, and we just want to make things happen. So if you need something, we're gonna get it done. So at this time, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you, as long as that's less questions at the budget. Couple weeks, couple months. Go ahead, Mr. Levine.
Thanks for your presentation. I'm never going to leave town now with all the stuff you're putting in, but I know they're talk about the pickleball courts at Elm Ridge, and there was a recent meeting, I guess. So can you just give us a quick update on that?
Yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted to approve the project through their you know, process. And we are working right now, looking to get some bid documents within the next week so that we can go out to bid for the project. So we're very, very close to being able to go out to bid. I want to take this opportunity to let everyone know too that we have had, you know, a lot of people ask, oh, are they going to be lit? There's not money in the project for them to be lit, but we are looking at some different strategies to possibly light them through some solar technology, where it actually goes around the upper perimeter of the fence that goes around the courts. And that's in a great location because it will see sunlight all day. So that's something we're looking into as well.
And is it 5 or 6 courts, and what ballpark timing?
So it is, we're hoping for 6. Our architect actually just bid some courts in Clinton last week, and he said the prices were pretty good. So hopefully the sooner we go out, the better, because I'd like to get it to 6. He's bidding it by linear foot. So it's not per court because it is going to be one open area, and he's going to put separate courts on it. So the goal is 6, with the walkway from the back parking lot to the courts. The process, we'd like it to be done in under 90 days. There is a 30-day curing process once the concrete's poured. It is going to be post-tension concrete. So, you know, I would think it would be less than that, but there is a 30-day process, and then they have to put the coating on top, which there's also a drying process. So The earlier we do it, we might have to wait longer for it to cure, but if you wait a little bit longer, you know, it kind of evens out. You might not have to go the full 30.
And happy to help with golf simulator research if
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's a cool idea that we're looking into. It's very popular.
So Craig, since we have the topic of updates, any updates on the cricket field?
Yes, so we met with the contractor yesterday, and we're looking to hopefully put some shovels. Since we are going to be doing some of the grading, finish grading, we need to have the staff in place to be able to do it with our seasonals. So we're looking at June-ish, maybe beginning of July, to get it done.
That's at Maxwell?
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about that intro to cricket?
Yeah, so I have spoken with some people in town who are very involved at youth level, who run youth leagues, who kind of are like the pioneers in Connecticut for youth cricket. And we'd have to, it's going to take a little bit of a process, but we'd basically be able to have youth programming at the cricket level, or for cricket, kind of similar to how you do your youth startup programs for like soccer, like we do in our department, or for basketball, and then hopefully it becomes a program to a work them up to get to the big leagues, I guess you could say. So that's our goal. We would have some lesson programs involved with that, and then hopefully it would be kind of like lessons, leagues, and then you play other towns just like the other towns do, or the other leagues in town do.
Yeah, one step at a time. Right?
One step at a time, for sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
So if anybody has any ideas for new programming, they could reach out to one of you or all
Yes.
three of you.
Yeah.
See you guys tomorrow.
She's not lying. She probably will see us tomorrow. We see her every day.
I do have to thank Logan and Nick, because when I have problems with the AV, when my husband's not there for our Tuesday class, they very kindly help me, so I want to give them a little shout out for that, because I do appreciate it.
Thankfully, it's not me.
I just have a quick question too. On the aquatics, Nick being certified WSIT, when we bring in Canton and Glastonbury, I assume we're charging them for his expertise.
Oh, yeah.
And the same thing with the lifeguard.
We will not give Lisa Zario anything for free.
And I assume the same thing for the lifeguard training.
Correct.
Feeder program for us, and we make money if they go somewhere else. Okay.
Yep.
And then the last thing is that pool 1968, you accentuated the 1968. Do you have any future thoughts on that, other than the splash pad? Like, is the splash pad a replacement? I mean, I wouldn't think it is, but I don't know, That's a
loaded question, Dave.
This might take the place of the budget night, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think we're looking at all options, quite frankly. I think all options are on the table, whether it's in addition to the existing pool, if we renovate the existing pool. What we're finding is the long wait thing, and it's expensive to replace it. Just putting it out there. So, it is a more cost prohibitive measure. Mm-hmm. And, I think one argument, or one thing that I guess we have that a lot of towns don't have, is we also have an indoor facility. So we can still offer, rec swim. We can still offer swim lessons. We can still offer all these other things that a lot of other towns can't. That is, I think, one advantage that we or one thing, or feather in our cap that we do have. That's a loaded question. I mean, there's so many different costs out there between building a new pool, and it might be one cost now, and it's going to be 20% more in 5 years, at least.
This is something we'll be talking about tomorrow, too.
Yeah.
CIP meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So we have some
Might
options
be more
to
of
look
that
at.
question for that department, right? And then the high school pool, I assume, is in good shape then?
Yeah, I mean, we are going to have to do some grouting of it
Yeah.
in the next fiscal year. That's got to get done, which is something that gets done every, what is it, 7, 8 years, 5 to 6 years. So we are carrying a number in our CIP request for that.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, I think just a couple comments because I really enjoyed the presentation, and I think that the way you broke it down was very informative, which is good for us when going into budget season. And particularly, I was impressed by the 40,000 people using the pool.
Yeah.
Right, like it just goes to the wear and tear of everything that, in our infrastructure, which is a little dated. And to see the activities and program overview listed, because I frequently go through the catalog and there's a bazillion pages, but to see it listed like that is quite impressive of all of the things that you do. I do know that you went very quickly over the open space management, but you are adding the farm. So that's another big undertaking for your department, which I think, folks need to recognize. And then finally, I just want to thank you for the Rockstar event, because I think it's critically important to recognize our external stakeholders, and particularly those who are, sponsoring some of these really big events that you do. So I think that was a genius move, and so thank you for doing that.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Look at the farm. I didn't know
Good luck. He said good luck with the farm. All right, we appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, the screen is going up, and we're going to move to new business A, discussion possible action of the trail grant, or grants.
Okay, we had to, hey, Craig, why don't you hang around for a little while? I had to amend the agenda tonight because CROG is looking to apply for a regional grant under the DEEP 2024 Recreational Trails Grant. They received some requests from their member towns to go in on a regional approach instead of individually. So there are potentially 10 towns interested, possibly including Rocky Hill, to join in this grant, which it looks like it may be about $850,000 with a 20% match. So this grant is looking to really form a regional share program. The money will go towards purchasing heavy equipment used in constructing and maintaining trails. Equipment such as a mini dozer, rollers, gator with a cab, plows, mini excavators, and the list goes on and on, tree trimmers, aerial lifts. The proposal is for CROG to apply as one unit with the towns putting up half or 10% of the grant. Based on 10 towns, approximately $8,500 per town. CROG will match the remaining 10% up to $100,000. There are currently several towns, Glastonbury, Weathersfield, Newington, South Windsor, and Coventry, that have expressed interest, and they're looking at other towns that have expressed interest right now. CROG is. All the equipment will be housed in Glastonbury under their town facilities. The $8,500 town match, again, is based on 10 participating towns. In the event that less than 10 towns participate, CROG will then adjust the equipment list accordingly, so that $8,500 will not increase. In addition to the $8,500, CROG is asking for a $2,500 annual fee for maintenance and repair of that equipment, which they would then revisit revisit in 3 years to review how that equipment is holding up, and if they need to increase or decrease that annual fee, then they would do that. At this point, CROG is asking for a letter of commitment from surrounding towns. And that's why I'm here tonight, to get that letter of commitment. Again, this is a regional cost-sharing opportunity. It will allow us, the town, to maintain, improve, and construct trails at a reduced cost and increased efficiencies with equipment that, without this grant, would otherwise wouldn't be here, would be without a vast monetary investment from our town and other towns. So I would recommend, hopefully, that the town council allow me to submit that letter of commitment. If the grant falls through, there's no money involved, so there's no threat of losing that money, that match, the $8,500 match.
Very quick question. You had mentioned it was a 20% match for the town?
20% match. 20% match to the grant.
Right, so wouldn't it be two times, 8,500 is only 10%?
It's $850,000. CROG's coming up with the other, the other
okay, that's the
10%,
piece I was
up to
missing. Okay,
$100,000.
So with the 10 towns participating, how do they just sort of figure out how much equipment needs to be purchased so that we're all not waiting months and months for the same piece of machinery?
Yeah, I believe, but they had a meeting last week and a
Yeah.
half ago, where the towns got together and they came up with they brainstormed what they would lead to. They listed equipment that they think they would need to maintain, build trails and what have you, and they came up with a pretty detailed list, I believe.
Yeah, and it's, I think the important thing for everyone to know is it is, under the auspices of trail development, trail maintenance, that kind of thing. It's not like, we could take the skid steer over and go grade a field with it. We wouldn't be able to do that. But if we are creating trails or widening trails or adding in a path from Goff Brook Lane to Quarry Park, or if we end up developing a trails system on the farm, for example. This is all the equipment that you could use and we could use in-house to do the work. Granted, and most of our guys have CDLs, so, that wouldn't be an issue either.
Okay, all right, I'm trying to do the math too, just a little bit. So $850,000 worth of equipment. If you have 10 towns, that's $85,000 a town.
Yeah.
And we're doing 8,500 for 10 years, or?
There are 10 towns, 8,500.
It's a
dollars
one-time
per
fee.
town.
So that's 85,000 from the,
From the 10
From all
towns.
10 towns.
And then CROG kicks in another 85,000 for the 20% of the 850,000.
okay, what happens
Total
to
of
the 80?
85,000, so each
And then
town.
the state does the other 80%?
The
Yeah.
state's the other 80?
So 10% the towns, 10% CROG, and 80% the state.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that
A lot
CROG
better.
has done an exceptional job the past several months in trying to put forth regionalized programming for municipalities. And I know that is, if you watched a couple of weeks ago, the governor was in Wethersfield with the mayor of Wethersfield announcing his regionalism program. And CROG was there and is a big proponent of this. So it really is, anytime that we can collaborate with other towns, I think we need to take advantage of those types of situations. I mean, we do a really good job with our Central Connecticut Health District. Chief Clapp mentioned some of the programs that we work with other municipalities on. And so, I think it's wonderful.
Are they limiting it to 10 towns, did you say? I might have missed that.
Are they limiting it, or no?
No, it's
they're
not limited. There are about 10 towns and organizations that expressed interest in it.
Yeah, so more towns.
I think Vernon was another town.
Vernon backed out.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the more towns that participate, the less the match per town.
So I have a question. So who's going to staff this? So it sounds like there's a lot to administer here, keeping track of the equipment, fielding the requests, keeping track of who has what, overseeing the maintenance and all.
CROG is going to be managing part of that. And then the town of Glastonbury, since the equipment will be in-house in Glastonbury, they'll be in charge of that as well. So CROG will take in all the maintenance fees and manage all the maintenance fees from each town and help pay the bills that way. If they have to send it out for service to John Deere or Bobcat or whoever it is. And then as far as the scheduling of the equipment, that will be done through Glastonbury.
And they're not claiming that'll generate an additional cost, for staff or anything? They're just going to absorb that?
No,
with
they're
their
going to
existing-
absorb that, to the best of my knowledge. That's,
Well, will CROG, are they looking to hire a staff person to manage this? Do you know?
I was not on the last call last week, so I'm unaware of that. I can't answer that.
I think we should.
But
put
there,
it up-
the person who's been in charge has been, Pauline Yoder has been overseeing all of this. So, I mean, I would assume that Pauline would assign a person to this program.
Who is that? Who's Pauline?
Pauline she's the
I think that she's now considered the CEO.
COO?
COO? CEO?
COO of CROG.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you proposing we put a motion on the floor?
Yes.
You want to state what the motion should be so one of us could do it?
To allow the town manager to submit a letter of commitment to CROG under their proposed 2004 Deep Regional Trails Grant.
I'll move
Go
that.
ahead.
What he said, right? What he said.
Second.
Any discussion? Yeah.
Can you just reread the list of equipment that was on that?
All right, I got this list from Craig.
Well, Craig, if you want to go through the
No,
list.
no, I'll read it. I got it.
Craig's list?
Yeah, I got it right here, too.
We have a mini dozer with roller and winch, gator with cab and plow, concrete buggy, mini excavator, paving box, robotic controlled mower, tree trimmer, an aerial lift, a brush cutter attachment for a mini excavator. That's all I have here, Craig.
Yeah, and there's a couple more. There's also the trailer. There's a roller. There's a paver plate compactor, which is good for narrow areas. Mini X, mini dozer, gator, concrete buggy, an Arbor Pro aerial lift. That was an ask from Newington. And yeah, that's about it.
I'm familiar with some of that equipment on that list, and your $25,000 maintenance budget, especially for that aerial lift, is not going to cover your costs. I would take that aerial lift off because it breaks about every other time it goes out, and they tend to roll over, especially when not used by the same people. It's about a $180,000 piece of equipment. It's great for certain jobs, but requires a high level of maintenance and a high cost of sensors and repairs. So it's just one, that's why I was asking about the list.
That was a tree trimmer and aerial lift
Do you have the discretion to choose what they're doing, or are you
I
suggesting
mean,
that we just not accept
that
that?
was more of a group decision to have that added on.
It just, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on it, but I know what the cost to
Yeah.
maintain some of that is. And that's one in particular that you're going to have a problem. Most people have a problem with. And people that use it every day have a problem with.
That could be brought up in future meetings. There's a concern about this expressed by
Yeah.
an individual in the industry that's a problem.
So, other than that, I have no other comments to it.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Craig. Moving on to subsection B. What is the first
Question
word?
about the farm.
Questions?
Questions about-
Questions on land acquisition and farmland.
Yes.
My handwriting isn't the best.
You should see mine. So that's okay. Chicken scribble. So I have a question for Councilor Whelan and maybe the town manager. So can you talk a little bit more about, Councilor Whelan, about like the timetable, where we are on that farm construction and everything else? Are we on schedule or not?
No, we're not.
How far behind we are?
I'm sorry.
Good answer.
The site remediation, the cleaning up the soil, that had to be done first. That was the problem, because the more they excavated, the more they found. The more they found, the more had to be tested. The more that they had to test, they had to send it out to the labs. It just took a lot of time.
How much is that time?
That project, the excavation, the pad site preparation for the barn was supposed to be completed by Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving or 2023?
Yeah.
Okay. And are we in any, I think that there was a grant associated with it.
There was
Where are we on?
an $837,000 grant for
Right.
the
So what's
site-
going on with that?
So the site remediation and the excavation.
Yeah, are we good on that grant? Because I think you got a kind of a renewal on that, like a extension, I should say.
No, there are two grants associated with this project.
Okay.
One was the brownfield remediation excavation grant for $837,000. We're fine with that so far.
Okay.
The other grant was a steep grant for $128,000 for the barn.
Right.
Two separate grants. The steep grant is the one that I needed two extensions on, because you can't build the barn without remediating and excavating the site for preparation for the barn.
Okay.
So that steep grant was due, actually, we were supposed to have the barn up, everything expended, all the requisitions in by March 4th. I received a extension to June 30th for that, so we're good with that.
Excellent. So why are we hiring this consultant, Ray?
Pardon me?
There was a consultant which was mentioned in the report.
Yeah, I had Bob Alvarado hop in to oversee some of the project management in the field. He's very familiar. He was very familiar with the project while he was working for us. He was the project engineer, our environmental person. He was involved initially. We have a lot of projects going on in town. Staff is stretched pretty thin, and this project needed additional oversight because there were some errors, and we believe there were some errors in the calculation of some of the grades. So that was that contributed to the delay.
Errors committed by whom?
Pardon me?
Errors by whom?
We believe, and we have to verify that, that's what our engineering people will be dealing with Zuvik Engineering, our environmental scientist and civil engineer. Steve Sopolak and Jason have been meeting with Zuvik's engineer. So what we could do is save money. We have Bob come in at a reduced rate, and he will be doing all of the site inspections now as opposed to an engineer from Zuvik. So that engineer kind of has faded away, so we can use Bob Alvarado to inspect the remaining site grading and erosion and sedimentation controls, and then the place.
But aren't we paying the Zuvik to do this job? We are paying extra money to Bob from my vantage point, right? How much we are paying Bob?
We are paying Bob some extra funds, yes.
How much?
At this point, I don't know. It's an hourly rate.
I mean, do you have an estimate?
And around 30, some odd, around 30, 38.
So is that in addition to what we are paying Zuvik?
That's in addition right now to what we're paying Zuvik, but we're going to be we plan on pulling one of the engineers off, so we do not have to pay that fee for him.
So you're planning to offset it with the...
Well, actually, the engineering from Zuvik, the hourly rate from Zuvik is probably well over $240 an hour.
So, but they are late. So that brings me to a question of these trees. Whose responsibility is that? Because I would assume that remediating those trees, you're going to cut them off probably, right?
Yeah.
So how much that will cost our town?
We will be doing that on our own crews will be doing that.
Yeah, and how much time that takes from the crews?
We're not sure yet. We haven't planned that out.
Is there any way, because it's Zuvik's responsibility to actually claw back some of that money?
We will be talking to them very soon about that. I have mentioned that in the past. My concern initially was on the additional tanks that were buried that they found. As the time went on, they found additional tanks that they didn't find 2 years ago because they've been on the site for 2 years.
My concern is that we are not holding Zuvik accountable.
We are on time. We are holding Zuvik accountable, and we will be meeting with them because we have to do that.
All right. So hopefully you will have an update on that soon.
What?
When will we expect an update on that?
Probably hopefully by the next meeting.
About next
Hopefully
meeting?
by the next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ray, just to follow up, the grant we have for the remediation, with the extra remediation that needs to be done, do we still have enough grant money to cover the extra costs involved with the additional?
Yeah, if, the grant is organized by like line items, so we can move line items up and down, back and forth, so we should be fine.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, moving on to the mayor's report. So I'll start off just on what's happening on the state level. I do know that Representative Wood has offered to come in and give a little overview at some point when we don't have so much going on the agenda, and let us know what's happening. But I will tell you, because we always talk about affordable housing, there is a bill proposing that the Housing Commission study the effects of Affordable Housing Law 830G upon municipalities across the state and other bills of concern. And I bring that up only because we have had this conversation continuously here about the fact that it's very difficult to meet that 10%, right? And that if the state could expand the definition of the criteria of what constitutes affordable housing, because we probably would be a lot closer than we are now, as would many municipalities. And I thought that this number was interesting because it says that now there are only 28 municipalities that have reached the state mandated 10% threshold. So we really, there's 169 municipalities. So we're really not alone in this challenge. And I think with our new commission that we put together, we'll certainly find ways to get there. And hopefully state lawmakers will take a look at those 4 category metrics and allow us to take into account other criteria to help bring up our affordable housing stock here in Rocky Hill. With respect to early voting, CCM is taking a position with respect to helping us eliminate some of the costs that are inherently associated with early voting. I think we got maybe $10,000 towards early voting, and that was just a flat amount of money that every municipality received. It's not, probably nearly enough in terms of what we might need, but it is something. As Chief Klepp mentioned, Sergeant Morgan has partnered with Jane Doe No More. We are so excited about this program because this is empowering women to escape alive from a perpetrator. And it is for young girls ages 12 all the way up to women of any age and any ability. So what's really cool about this program, if you've ever watched a video, it's 4 hours of intensive training. You'll hear from victims who were assaulted by sexual predators. You will hear stories, you will receive tips, but then you get to actually learn strike moves. And the trainers are fully padded with helmets on, and no matter what your physical abilities are, like someone my age is not probably going to be able to do some of these impressive moves, but they work with your abilities. So it's super, super cool. I would encourage everyone to look it up now, Jane Doe No More, because the spaces are really filling up quickly. It's absolutely free. It's going to be in our community center Saturday, March 30th from 1 to 5 p.m.
Residents only, by the way?
No, it's open to anybody. So we got to get in the queue there if we want to go. I'm really excited to announce that Rocky Hill Life is going to have a new monthly feature, and it's going to be a town hall update where Town Manager Carpentino and I will give an update with respect to what's going on, because not everybody watches these council meetings. And yeah, shocker. And as we've seen from the recent, misunderstandings with respect to the post office that were on social media, and some of the other things that we see on social media, folks, they don't always know what's going on in town. And so this will really, I think, be another step towards transparency and just keeping folks informed. And it will last, administration after administration. Don't forget, this Thursday, March 7th, 8 to 9 a.m. is our very first State of the Town breakfast. It's going to feature your state lawmakers, department heads, superintendent of schools, and the Middlesex Chamber of Commerce. This is a free event. It's open to the public. It's only an hour. It's at the Rocky Hill Community Senior Center. And I just want to give a very big shout out and thank you to the following Annie's Table, BK Bake Market, Mazzucato di Pasquale, the Dream Cafe, and Patty Cakes. We will be able to sample all of their delicious coffee and breakfast items at the event. March 15th is the Education Foundation's fundraiser with, it's the basketball fundraiser at the high school, which does incredibly well. There are some tickets left, but I encourage you to go online and purchase your tickets as soon as possible because, it's going to sell out very quickly, and I doubt that there's anything available the night of. The day after our first State of the Town is our Mayor Spotlight at the Senior Center, and that will be from noon to 1:30, and we will talk about all things happening in town, and basically it's an opportunity to keep our senior population informed about what's going on. And finally, last week I had an opportunity to deliver opening remarks for Governor Lamont's news conference on highway safety. So there is, if you haven't seen, this combined effort between Connecticut State Police and DOT, and really, it's in response to the numerous crashes that we see occurring on the highway, and in particular, fatalities associated with drunk driving and speeding and so on. There's all kinds of really cool technology that they will be implementing. There's going to be more troopers on the road. We will see that along our 91 corridor. For us in Rocky Hill, it's particularly important because you will recall for the past several years, we have been lobbying state lawmakers to help us with our fire department, and in particular to reimburse them for the numerous calls that they respond to on the highway. And you hear those stats repeatedly through public safety. Even though we have a very short span of the I-91 corridor, we do see numerous accidents, crashes with injuries. So we do commend the governor for this response to slowing down traffic. As always, we want to remind you to slow down, put your cell phones away when you are driving, and never ever get behind the wheel or let anyone you know get behind the wheel when you are or they are intoxicated. And that concludes my report.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one brief, on the affordable housing bill, do you have a bill number? Because depending on
Yes.
what it says, we may want to file testimonies.
Yeah, I have,
So-
let me tell you, hold on one second. So tomorrow, March 5th, they are holding a hearing. So I don't know if, usually you have to get on a list, but I suspect it doesn't matter at some
Online.
point.
You can do it
Yeah.
online, too.
So it's HB, it looks like 5333. Does that look right? It's faded. Oh. Counselor Levine read over my shoulder. He said yes. Yeah.
I believe you can file testimony online, so people may want to try to do
Okay,
that.
and so the hearing will be at 11 a.m. in room 2D. And I think, Counselor Thoreau, even if we miss the filing, it was by Monday at 3 o'clock. Even if we miss that filing, though, if we give it to our state delegation, I'm sure that they'll take that into consideration. And there is a lot of stuff. You can go to CCM, or you can go to actually CT 169 Strong. They actually have a template for you on what to say, your opening paragraph, your closing paragraph, depending on how you feel about a particular bill, whether you support it or oppose it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the town manager's report.
Okay, just a few things. Lieutenant Governor held a formal, what they call a formal announcement at the Willow Road Housing Authority in their community room to formally announce the $2 million Small Cities Grant that the town had received for the rehab of their Willow Road development. You know, that included roofing, siding, upgrading bathrooms, kitchens, and a whole bunch of things. They will also be getting, I believe, another $2 million from CHFA, correct? Mm-hmm. The Director of Operations and I met with our auditor, CLA, to discuss their assistance in capitalizing on some potential tax credits for EVs. So we'll be looking into that shortly. Hopefully, it may be a budget issue, or not an issue, a budget line item.
That's a big difference, Mona.
Yeah. I don't like issues. The Business Park Phase 2 bridge, that culvert that we received state bond money for, I believe in 2021. We are able to go out for RFPs, and how many we did receive five, I believe. 5 RFPs were submitted for the design of that culvert. The project was to the town to fund the design and engineer of the culvert over the brook to incentivize that particular 62 acres of land we own, to try to get a developer in to develop that into something. There's no longer, we still own 65 acres of land, but the solar farm takes up approximately 17 acres, and then now we have Public Works down there with some of their not bulky waste, but storm waste, wood chippers, so that takes up some space. So the idea is to try to get some form of development a tax base down in that area to develop that property with a reduced cost, so the developer or whoever wants to buy that property does not have to pay for the design of that bridge, which is costing probably over $100,000. So that could be a cost savings. This is the most significant item on my report. I'll be participating in Read Across America. I'll be reading Dr. Seuss's I Can Read with My Eyes Shut at the Learning Tree Preschool Friday afternoon. So I'll have to be practicing all week to get through that book. They're much longer than I anticipated, actually.
Because they're tongue twisters. Remember reading them when you were, the kids are little. They're tongue twisters.
Yeah, I was able to make up the words when I was reading to my daughter, but we'll see what happens. We are now in the process of budget reviews with department heads, in preparation of the proposed budget in the middle of April. And the next the department presentation will be March 18th with the highway garage and possibly the Rocky Hill Voluntary Ambulance.
Awesome. Any questions?
That EV tax credit, is that a tax credit from the town?
Federal.
Federal?
Yeah.
Federal.
Not, so it won't be a budget item for us?
It will assist. So ordinarily, a town doesn't pay income tax, but we've worked with our auditors, and they'll still honor the federal credit. So if we're to buy electric vehicle, I think they're going up to $7,500 per vehicle, for example, so we could still receive the actual. So the town would
receive the credit?
We receive the actual cash after the purchase of the vehicle. Also includes charging stations as well.
Yeah,
So we're going to work with them and come up with a request.
$7,500 per lightweight vehicle, and it goes up to $40,000 for heavier trucks and equipment.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night, everyone.